Hello everyone, I'm Dennis Pittsenbarger. We are here at the 50th rendition of the SEMA show, right here in the Las Vegas Convention Center. To my left, a man that is in a hot seat that I've actually sat in, Evan Perkins, the editor-in-chief of the one and only Hot Rod magazine. How you doing today,
I'm doing very well. How are you, Dennis?
You and I have treaded the same water, and I remember I got the opportunity to do the radio show, which is certainly a far less a far lower rung on the ladder at Hot Rod, but it scared the pants off of me. It woke me up in the middle of the night to think I'm the voice of Hot Rod magazine, and I swore if I goofed that up, Mr. Peterson, I never met Mr. Peterson, so I still call him Mr. Peterson, would have welded me to the floor with a lightning bolt from heaven if I screwed that job up. Your job is 10 times that stressful. It's also got to be a great honor to be at the helm of the one and only Hot Rod.
It's a tremendous honor, and you really have to recognize that the magazine is so much bigger than you. You know, it's something so special and so historic, and something that Mr. Peterson created that cannot be recreated. It is just such a unique animal, and it's just truly an honor to be at the helm of it.
It is, and you think about him selling that stuff like gate to gate at Indy, you know, to start things. And all the stories that we've heard, I mean, obviously I was very lucky and have been very lucky to know Doug Evans and a lot of the guys that worked hand in hand with him. And I know you've heard a lot of these stories too. Oh, yeah. Everything from cannonballs and cows to a lot of different stories we'll just kind of let lie. But Hot Rod, man, you know, when a lot of people think that the print industry is declining, Hot Rod is stronger than ever, and not only as a brand, but as the one thing I always make sure and read cover to cover.
It's the last bastion of, you know, real car guy stuff, and it is such a strong print book. It's such a widely recognized print book, and what a lot of people don't realize is actually one of the oldest print books. It predates Motor Trend by a year.
Yeah.
So Hot Rod was founded in 1948, and it's still absolutely going strong. You know, we don't ignore the web. That's a huge portion of what we do and what we'll be doing this week. But the print book is still a strong survivor.
You know, can you imagine now? It's such an interesting thing to think about your position. You know, because now it's all done with computers and layouts are all done digitally, and the way the magazine is even processed is such a different. I almost think it'd be fun if you and I could go back to 1963, and you'd have layouts on a big white table. I'd be talking into a big giant one of those round microphones with the wires in it. You know,
we'd be hanging out in the dark room and developing print photography.
You know, speaking of the dark room, with your access to everything that makes Hot Rod so great, do you ever go back in the archives and start digging around?
I don't get to go into the archives as much as I'd like to, but Tom Taylor, who's our senior staff writer, has them on lockdown. I mean, the stuff that he's able to pull out of the archives that we have are so phenomenal because nobody else has that.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that makes, you know, 10 and all of the Legacy Peterson books so special is we have all of that content, all of those original photos. I think Tom just pulled out this great piece on the Hot Rod, you know, championship drag races that we used to put on at Terminal Island, and it, you know, some of that history, you think about it and you're like, could we open Terminal Island? Could we go to Long Beach? Could we get them to let us run that event? Even if it's a one-day thing, could we bring it back?
Buddy, if you can pull off drag racing on Woodward, which I did drag race.
Yeah, this is true.
I ran a Vet and a Camaro down that, and if you can get Woodward handled, you can get that handled.
And there's so many awesome ideas like that where, you know, no one's heard about this happening for 30 or 40 years, and then you look in the archives and you're like, we could do that. We could bring that back. We could put a new spin on it. We could make this great content cool again. So there's...
It'd be great. You know, I also wonder, you're kind of led down that path. I wanted to ask you, do you know, it's probably a little bit difficult in your world also that how many ideas can we come up with? You know, because it's still, you still got to go back to what the essence of Hot Rod was, which you and I, in the essence of even the word Hot Rod, making your Nova, and my Z28's my Z28's. How hard is it sometimes to maybe come up with how do we do it one more time? Because there's so much to pick from, especially here at SEMA. Where do those ideas churn from?
I think a lot of it's cyclical, right? Something that was, you know, cool in the 70s and out in the 80s is maybe back in the 90s, and then we just kind of watch the trends, and shows like this are great for seeing what people are doing and what the newest thing is. And It sounds like it would be a tremendous mountain to climb, but it's really not.
A little easier than we think.
We've got such a great group of people on the staff, and there's not a single person that's into the same thing. Everybody's in, Tom likes this, and Brandon Gilogli likes this, and Philip Thomas likes this, and I'm into that. And when we all sit down in the same room, those ideas kind of mix and merge and become the stories that you end up seeing in the print.
Does Alana still have her opal?
Alana does still have the opal, yeah.
I text her every once in a while. I'll see an opal up in Portland where I live, and I always got to make sure and text her that. I got a bad picture of an L79 Nova that hit a tree. I don't want to make her cry on that one. I don't. Shed a tear. Where do you go from here with Hot Rod? Where do you envision Hot Rod being? Because it has been around since the inception of not only SEMA and the SEMA show, but where do you take Hot Rod from here?
I think the direction that I've proclaimed I want to take Hot Rod in is I want to get back to our roots, and our roots was working on cars, turning wrenches, teaching people how to work on cars, teaching people how to make horsepower, on the cheap, or what's the coolest new thing, trends, and just getting our hands dirty again. There was so much time where we covered the industry as a whole, and it was all dream cars and just way over the top projects, but we weren't teaching people anything. And that was what my attraction to Hot Rod and Carcraft was as a young man in high school, and even before that, was I didn't know how to work on cars. I didn't come from a car family. Dad didn't do it, didn't know anyone that did it. And those books were my gateway into the industry and learning how to build engines, learning how to work on stuff. So I want to put that back in the book, and I want to energize the next generation. I want to get kids working on cars, I want to promote kids working on cars, and I want to teach kids the right way to do stuff. And there are just so many great personalities in this industry that we can use as expert resources to teach these guys the right way to do it.
Well, I think that's absolutely where it should go, because I think that you and I, again, torn from a little bit of the same cloth, where we were supposed to be studying science, and we had a Hot Rod magazine inside our textbook. And it's just one of the things. Now the kids probably just hiding their smartphone and reading Hot Rod online. So if people want to know more about what's going on at the Enthusiast Network and where you're taking Hot Rod, and I'm glad to hear that, man. It makes me happy to hear that.
Good.
Getting your hands dirty is what it's all about, man. Getting kids to read. I'm a dinosaur, man. I'm a dinosaur. So we need to get more youth into it. So, and Hot Rod was a vehicle for so many to get into it. So tell everybody in the camera how we can get a hold of you, what you're doing, and how we follow along for the next 50 years.
So we'll be at the show all week. Coverage will be on hotrod.com. And we'll have a little bit more in the print issue when that comes out, and that will be our April issue. But yeah, hotrod.com, Hot Rod Facebook, Hot Rod Twitter, Hot Rod Instagram. We're hitting all the social channels. We're going live for Project Car unveilings. And again, everything will be on hotrod.com.
All right, well, thank you so much, Evan. On behalf of him and myself, I'm Dennis Pittsenbarger. We'll see you soon.